is that something that has changed for you over time? Or, having had a career in marketing, has this sort of always been your strategy in terms of how you think about building out an organization?
It has always been my strategy. My idea was to keep our general expenses low, which includes human capital, right? And so that we can actually build business cases to get dollars to invest and build a brand externally. If everything goes into building our resources internally, you really are left with having to prove a lot more from an ROI standpoint. So we have to be very, I call it surgical and strategic in how we kind of really composite our organization and what is it really aligning to and supporting so that it's always driven and it's frankly there's the efficacy of it that we're always proving out, right? So is the ROI.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's what's interesting too is a lot of companies are thinking of it as, what do I need today? And will that look different 6 months from now, 9 months from now, 12 months from now? And do I have a long-term plan for that particular person, skill, department, project? Or is this a temporary situation and I don't want to buy something permanent when I really need something temporary,
Yeah, I mean,
right?
there's massive overhead that we incur when we open a whole new role within our organization. And it's not just about, hey, let me make sure they get the right salary. It comes down to discretionary bonus. It comes down to benefit. It comes down to the culture. It comes down to all these other things that we want to be able to do to make it a lovely working environment. And so you have to think about all of that. And where is the give and take in terms of yes, it's wonderful to have, 100-person marketing team, but what are you getting really out of it at the end of the day?
Yeah.
And I think also for me, I mean, personally, I found it very just I love mentoring talent. I've done it for years and years. I do it with external organizations within BNY, and then even with my own team. It's so important that I like spend time to identify hidden talent, right? Because just because they're doing one thing doesn't mean they can't do something else that could ultimately align to something in the future. And so I just encourage other leaders, take time to learn all of the talent in your team because you'll be surprised at what you can achieve with your existing body of folks.
Maggie,
Yeah.
if I could double click on this for a second, because Kirti's raising such an incredibly powerful point. As an angel investor, I get to see a lot of HR tech companies, and there are innumerable companies in kind of the TADA space, right? The talent acquisition and development space. And they struggle so much with getting traction at companies because companies aren't willing to spend the money. They know it's a problem. They know that they can put in, different AI technologies to help them bring better people. They know they can bring in all kinds of training and all kinds of LMS systems and things to help them develop their own talent or identify skill upgrades and a host of things, but they don't really do it. And so there's just this fascinating dynamic where everyone says, oh, our people are our most important thing, but we're not really willing to spend the time on the people. So we're just going to go hire a recruiter and pay them, which is great. And I think works very well. And they should all hire, great recruiters like, I don't know, Blend 360, maybe something like that. I don't know. But it's fascinating to me because the tech exists to do a lot of these things in a much more efficient way. But it takes time, it takes money and implementations, and people just are, no, I got to go to the next thing.
No,
And they shouldn't.
Jeff, because BNY has taken this very much as a concerted focus in the past year. And I've only been here a year and a half, and so much has changed from an HR recruiting and just employee engagement standpoint because we really want to shift from sort of like that, oh, we just work 9 to 5 and we sort of get something done culture to performance-based culture, but one that's also really propelled by all these other facets of culture and whatnot. So they actually implemented a system called Peakon, and it has been eye-opening for me in terms of, wow, I thought we had this conversation. I thought I understood where this part of my organization is or feels and whatnot, but because it's, an unbiased as well as like hidden kind of incognito response they can provide, people really open up. And you start identifying themes and you start seeing folks who've been here for a tenure of 2 to 5 years. They definitely want to be motivated and taken advantage of to learn something new versus the new folks that we just brought in are excited and so on and so on. So having that type of data and access to insights is so important. And I think what's really cool about the Pecan is that it is frequent, as much as it's like sort of like an eye roll for a manager. We're like, oh, more feedback. But then at the end, but then at least it's like real time, right? Versus a giant yearly employee survey where you're then like trying to pinpoint, well, what was happening that quarter when they answered that? Because maybe that impacts some of their responses, right? And then you can't really
Right.
actively address it. So I think there are really cool tools out there, Jeff. And it's to your point, companies have to invest time and energy and effort in implementing them, but then getting people to utilize them and then turn it into a tool for yourself.